Hi everyone, welcome to the Planet Pearl YouTube channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Pearlin. I live here in Christchurch, New Zealand with my husband, our two adult sons and our two much loved dogs, Amber and Casper. I'm a multi-crafter. I love knitting, crochet, quilting, embroidery and all the little projects in between, and this channel is my space to chat about my creative making and share a little reflection and enjoy the slow handmade life together with you, my making friends, from my cozy creative corner. I've been sitting here knitting for a bit. It's summer here in New Zealand. Schools and uni are still on holiday and everybody seems to be talking about travel and camping at the moment. And it just got me thinking how I take my making with me when I travel, which is usually knitting because that's what I always end up reaching for. And just how I do it, maybe it helps you think through your own setup too. One thing I've learned over time is that I don't really knit much when I'm actually at the place I'm visiting. I used to imagine myself sitting somewhere scenic, knitting away for hours, and honestly, that version of me doesn't exist. When I'm visiting somewhere, especially family, I like to, I want to talk, eat, wander around, sit around, do nothing, or just be present. The knitting mostly stays in the bag, but the traveling part, the airports, the layovers, the waiting, the sitting, the car rides, that's where the knitting really feels like something comforting. So now I pack for those moments, the in-between moments with no expectations attached to it. Because of that, I always take small projects with me, always. My favorites are always very simple, familiar things. Vanilla socks, the Musselburgh hat, the socket hat, or sometimes something like slant dishcloth or grandma's favorite dishcloth. These are the kinds of projects that don't really need a pattern once you've made them a few times. They sort of live in your hands already. With something like the Musselburgh, I'll usually do the increases at home and then take it with me once it's ready for the stockinette section. That way, when I'm traveling, I can just knit. No counting, no checking, no thinking too hard, just knit. And honestly, the Musselburgh hat is just a vanilla sock of the hats. It really is. And I don't need a pattern. I always make sure it is, oh no, if I do need I don't need a pattern for the stockinette of the Musselburgh hat until I reach about like 18.5 inches or so if I'm making an adult hat. And so that's that. If I do need a pattern, I always make sure it's downloaded ahead of time, either in Knit Companion or saved directly on my phone or iPad. I don't want to rely on Wi-Fi, data, or my brain remembering anything while traveling. So that's what I do. And then the one thing I've noticed definitely though is that dark yarns and plain lighting are not the best friends. Sometimes it's just too dim. No matter how much you try to convince yourself it'll be fine, it doesn't work. In those situations, a little neck light can be really handy. I don't actually own one yet, but it's definitely on my wish list. It's really just it's really about having an option rather than squinting, knitting 2 rows and then giving yourself a headache, which is probably why a neck light has been sitting on my wish list for a long time now. I think my eyes will thank me for that mercy. Road trips are easy. You throw your knitting in a bag and go. Flying is unpredictable. On paper, knitting needles are usually allowed. I usually check with a carrier I'm flying to see if knitting needles are allowed and what is allowed, what is not, and all of those. But often, it's not what happens in reality. No one even looks at them sometimes, but sometimes there's interest. They're interested it's interesting to see that how it changes every time. Sometimes it's the needles, sometimes it's the yarn, sometimes nobody cares. So I've stopped trying to outthink it. One thing I always take, no matter how I'm traveling, is circular needles. Partly because they're practical and partly because losing one needle while sock knitting when you're traveling is very, very easy. Circulars keep everything together, nothing rolls away, nothing disappears under a seat. And ask me how I know. Yeah, exactly. I also choose my needles very intentionally for travel knitting when I'm flying. Usually I like wooden Likan needles. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but I use those Likan needles for hats and metal needles for things like dishcloths with cotton yarn. They are very nice to use, but they're also easy to replace. What I don't take in my carry-on are my precious Jagu needles. Those stay safely in another project bag, usually in my checked luggage, often with a larger standby project, especially when I'm visiting family, which I'm usually am when I'm when I'm air traveling. I often don't knit much at all when I arrive because sometimes, but it's very rare. So that bigger project is there if I need it, but there's no pressure attached to it. It's low stress, fuss free. And I also always bring a tiny toolbox. I really love this part of my setup. A few stitch markers, a small measuring tape, a darning needle, a small repair crochet hook set. For scissors, I use the Kohana ones. They're really teeny tiny, and it's very non-threatening because it has a cover, which feels important when you're flying, because sometimes the scissors get confiscated, and I don't want that because I love collecting scissors as well. What I don't love collecting, I don't know. I love everything. So everything feels neatly, everything fits neatly in one place. No digging around, no loose bits floating around through my bag. I usually travel with two small drawstring project bags. I don't tend to take zippered pouches, mostly because I found yarn can sometimes snag in the zipper, which is one of those small annoyances I'd rather not deal with while traveling. One will have something like a hat or a sock, the other will have a dishcloth. They're simple, soft, easy to tuck anywhere, and I like that everything has its own place. Again, nothing precious in the carry-on, just things I enjoy working on. Jet lag is also very real for me, especially flying out of New Zealand. There are long layovers where I usually fully intend to knit and then I just sleep instead. The project bag sits next to me unopened and I'm fine with that. Sometimes I knit a few rows, sometimes I unzip a bag and look at it, and sometimes it stays closed the entire time. It's all part of the process, I guess. And sometimes that's all that counts. I just like to have my project near me. I don't know, like a comfort thing, like a support project for me through traveling. The last thing I usually tuck into my bag is my making journal, my thoughts book. It's not the planner, it's not the goals notebook, just somewhere to gather thoughts if they show up. Maybe an idea, a pattern name, just a feeling, something I noticed. Sometimes I write a lot, sometimes I don't open it at all, but traveling has a way of making your mind wander, especially while waiting. And I like having something where I can put those thoughts in as they come. So really, my go-to travel setup for making is very simple. 1 or 2 small projects, circular needles, simple replaceable tools, a tiny toolbox, and my thoughts book. Just something simple to keep my hands occupied and busy. and just familiar things that keep me company through all the sitting and waiting that comes with air traveling. And if you're traveling soon and wondering what to take, I hope this helps you a little with a few ideas, or at least makes it feel a bit less complicated, even if it's just a starting point. And thank you so much for spending time with me for a bit now, and I'll see you again soon. Until then, take care. Bye.